That's pretty cool, huh? This is a real parade.
Evangeline. Nana's over there.
Oh, she was on our mission to find Nana. Like I do a head stream, I made a name. No, I
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On this day, Veterans Day, we are commemorating the service of all veterans. We remember how men and women set aside their civilian pursuits to serve their nation's cause, defending the freedom of mankind and preserving our precious American heritage. We recognize service to our country and their cause does not end with the termination of military service. We continue our endeavors on behalf of an honorable world peace with a feeling of profound gratitude to God and to the men and women who gave their lives as their part of the cost of this noblest of causes. Out of blood and sweat, we learned of purpose and sacrifice, tolerance, bravery, and discipline. These are the solid foundation stones upon which a great nation is built. In waging war, we have moved forward with unity of purpose, which made us strong. Our hearts beat in tune with those in other nations fighting for freedom and dignity and opportunity of mankind. In our quest for an honorable world peace, there is need for unity of purpose if we are truly to move toward a brighter tomorrow. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Reverend Megan Lyons from the First Church, who will pronounce invocation.
Thank you so much. We are here today to honor those who have served our country, protected us from harm, and defended our freedom. At times we forget at what cost this freedom came. And so we gather today to be reminded of those who gave all to make sure future generations continue to live in a free, democratic society. Honoring those who have served is only half of the task that is before us today. We must also carry their love and duty forward to the future generations that come. Our children must know their names, their
I read this the other day and I thought it would be good to put it in here. The difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Veterans Day is a time to thank those who are serving or who have served and are still with us. Memorial Day is to reflect and remember those who lost their lives in the service to our country. Confusing the two or combining the two diminishes the importance of both. And now here's a little deviation from our standard program. Chief Chamberlain, would you come forward and bring Lance Corporal Brian Ryder with you? On behalf of the Hiram Taylor Post, the residents of Sterling, Brian, welcome home.
Thank you. Good morning. Sheriff, you get Tigalitis? Representative Martin?
Let's kick this up.
Representative Megan? Thank you. Representative Polk? Every year, the Sterling Police Department participates in the Veterans Day Parade, and it's an event we really look forward to. But this year, it's especially special for us. An Officer Ryder joined our police department approximately 2 years ago. And a year ago, the United States Marine Corps saw fit that they needed him more than we did, so they took him from us. And he's been deployed for about 11 months now. And we're glad to have him back. I'm sure the Board of Selectmen's glad to have him back because the overtimes have been killing us. But he's safe. He's back on in the United States of America. He'll be back patrolling the streets of Sterling, and we're really glad to have him back. While he was deployed, we flew the United States Marine Corps flag over the police station. It's been up there for the past 11 months through rain, through snow, through the wind, and it's a little bit worn, but I'm sure Brian is coming home a little bit different than when he left. So we'd like to present the flag that was flown over the police station to you. And a certificate that says presented to Officer Brian Ryder on this 10th day of November 2019, which happens to be the 244th birthday of the Marine Corps. Simplify, hoorah. This is certified that the accompanying United States Marine Corps flag is flown over the Sterling Police Department from January 2019 to October 2019 during the deployment of Officer Ryder to Afghanistan in support of Operation Freedom Sentinel. Presented by the Sterling Police Department and Chief Gary James. Welcome home. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Veterans Day. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Brian Ryder. Like the Chief said, I'm a United States Marine and an officer in this town. Just over 2 weeks ago, I was deployed overseas in Afghanistan, and it's an honor to be back here standing with you, celebrating this day. I want to thank the police department, especially this community, for all their never-ending support while I was overseas. It's much appreciated. For Marines out there, I want to wish you a happy birthday. Semper Fi, hoorah, enjoy your weekend.
I think we get another band selection.
I have it.
Now I'll call on John Kilcoy, Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you, Commander Temple. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Our honored guests, the American Legion, Police Department, Fire Department, a great scouting organization, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, the band, and especially all the residents who are here, and especially Officer Ryder. Thank you. Just brief. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, Armistice Day was declared. World War I came to an end in Germany. In 1938, it was declared to be Veterans Day. I'm sorry, it was declared to be a day for all veterans, not just Veterans Day, excuse me. In 1954, it was declared to be for all veterans after World War II and Korea. So, and I'm just very glad that Sterling has honored the veterans this way every year. I noticed in the paper today, there were only 12 other communities in all central Massachusetts that are having parades. But I know in the 33 years I've been here, I believe Sterling has always had a parade and an honor ceremony for the Memorial Day and the Veterans Day. And I'm very proud of that, and I think all of us should be very proud of that. So without any further ado, again, just want to thank you for being here, but especially thank our veterans, both those who have served and those who are serving today and always. Thank you.
call on the High Sheriff of Worcester County, Lou Evangelitis.
Thank you. On days like this, I'm often reminded when we get to Veterans Day about President Washington's farewell address to the people of America. And he said that the willingness of those to serve will be directly proportional to how they perceive those who serve before them are treated. And I just want to say, when I was a legislator for all those years, Sterling was the one of 7 towns that always recognized Veterans Day, always had a parade, and always thanked the veterans for their service to this country, just as you're doing today. And I just want to say, I was always grateful for that, and I was always grateful to our veterans. Thank you very much.
We'll go stick a band selection in here. Now, as a joint venture, I'll call Representative Kim Ferguson, representing the 1st Worcester District, and representing the 12th Worcester District, Major Harold Norton, Jr.
Bob, thank you. Always a great job. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my colleague, Representative Ferguson, and myself, it's great to be here. Representative Ferguson has a little bit of a cold, a little bit of bronchitis, so she won't be speaking, and you'll be glad to hear that does not mean I'm going to double the length of my speech. The biggest cheer of the day. I know. It's all 25 years, Bob. I've been the rep for all or part of Sterling. A dozen or so years. Kim Ferguson, and prior to that, now Sheriff Evangelitis. And we've always noticed the patriotism and the interest in veterans on behalf of this town. I've been to these Welcome Home Marines. Earlier this year, on the 6th of June, I had the opportunity at very early in the morning to be standing on Utah Beach, 75 years to the day and hour when the first wave came ashore of the 4th Infantry Division 2nd Brigade. My father, who many of you have heard me speak of, many of you knew, was a medic with that unit. As someone who myself has served with the 4th Infantry Division in Afghanistan, it was incredibly powerful and moving for me to be there, to stand there with several other current Army veterans on that beach as the sun came up. It was cold and it was windy. I don't think it was anything compared to what it was on that day 75 years ago, but it meant a lot to me. And I thought of that 20-year-old Harold Naughton Sr., and when you think about it, think of those kids compared to the soldiers I've gone overseas with, soldiers younger than Lance Corporal Ryder, who've been tremendously exposed to the world through social media, through the internet. And think of these 20-year-old kids that came from Sterling, Mass, and Clinton, Mass, and Ottumwa, Iowa, and Atlanta, Georgia. They didn't know what they were getting into, but they stepped up and they did it. They went ashore and they saved the world in the grand tradition of the armed services of this country. And let me tell you, don't necessarily believe the media. Everywhere I went in France, I was there for the week, from Saint-Marie-du-Mont, right at Utah Beach, to Carentan, to Pont de Hoc. The Rangers suffered so badly, but overcame. And even on to Paris. The French people and Belgians, many Belgians we met, are incredibly thankful for what the veterans of this country did to save the world at that time. And then move on. Finish that war, come home and build this country, and be an example like their fathers in World War I, and to those that were to follow them. From Korea to Vietnam, to the peacetime veterans. And by the way, to any Vietnam veteran here, welcome home. You didn't hear it enough when you came home. Through the wars in the Middle East. And my colleagues, Representative Ferguson and Sheriff Lew, when he was in the House, worked very hard to make sure that Massachusetts has the best state-level veterans benefits in the entire country. And that is not an empty boast. That is a proven fact. But it doesn't mean we sit on our laurels. As late as last Wednesday, we passed new legislation requiring admissions counselors to our state colleges and universities to be trained to spot the signs of post-traumatic stress. The needs of veterans have changed dramatically over the last few generations, but we still need to be prepared to take care of all of them. And even in these wars, when I first went to Iraq in 05 and 06, that was a different war from the war I went to in Afghanistan in 2011 and 2012, which was different from the Syria mission that I was on in 2015. And you see it in the young soldiers and the old ones like me, the needs when they come home. But these are the choices that have been made throughout our history by the best among us to step up and bear that burden. As in Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural, he spoke of those who bore the burden and their widows and orphans. Please let the young ones among us know that story. And to conclude, if you'll bear with me, on the last page of his book, Faith of My Fathers, Senator John McCain wrote, "When I look back on my misspent youth, I feel a longing for what is past and cannot be restored. But though the happy pursuits and casual beauty of youth prove ephemeral, something better can endure, and endure until our last moment on earth. And that is the honor we earn and the love we give if at a moment in our youth we sacrifice with others for something greater than our self-interest. We cannot always choose the moments, often they arrive unbidden. We can choose to let the moments pass and avoid the difficulties they entail. But the loss we would incur by that choice is much dearer than the tribute we once paid vanity and pleasure." what Senator McCain was saying, that without the sacrifices, if I may paraphrase him, made by the men and women that stand in front of me right now, we wouldn't have the honor to be able to stand here together with the camaraderie, friendship, and commonality of shared sacrifice that we do. It is a pleasure and an honor to be in your company. God bless you, and God bless this great town of Sterling, our Commonwealth, and our country. Take care.
Then we'll have another band selection. If there be glory in war, it is the incredible spirit which engenders us all. Those who offered their lives sacrificed their all with magnificent abandon. Heroism became contagious. Let us strive to see the same spirit of self-sacrifice is cultivated in peace as it has been exhibited in war. It behooves us to rear new standards of success, to inspire youth in peace as youth was inspired in war. Let us honor the heroes of science who alleviate human suffering and carry to greater heights the standards of civilization. Let us honor those in public service that seek not how much they may secure from the nation, but how much they can give. Let us honor those who devote their lives to the education which will lead our children on to live, laugh, learn, and love, as we have only dreamed of doing. Let us honor those veterans who carry into ordinary affairs of life a noble idealism and sincere capacity for self-devotion. In peace we shall go forward together to scale new heights of achievement, in unity of purpose and sacrifice for the common good, in tolerance for those of different faiths, creeds, bravery to fight for the social and economic gain, and in the discipline of good citizenship. We shall move forward as a strong nation, a peaceful world. Let us hope that peace shall soon come and conflict is over, and our troops will serve around the world to maintain peace instead of waging war. And now all those able to stand will have the playing of the national anthem. thank everyone for coming out this afternoon. And I have a couple of announcements. The Hiram Taylor Post has started our collection for Christmas gifts for the veterans in the care facilities, which are Sterling and Oakdale. We accept any material donations of, we look for socks, t-shirts, pants, or sweat pants, or like pajama pants, tops, fleece tops, sweatshirts, personal care items, and, like puzzle books, crossword puzzles, and that stuff. Or if you don't want to go shopping, you can send us a check, and we'll do the shopping for you. And also on that note, when you're preparing for Christmas at home, and you want to make room in your closet, we are connected with Project Warm Up, which is the 4-H in Lancaster is the main supporter of that. We have the founder as a member of our squadron of the Sons of the American Legion. He started that at 13 years old from a visit with the 351 Project in the state to Boston. He saw a homeless man sitting on the sidewalk wearing a trash bag, trying to stay warm and dry. When he got home, he told his mother, he says, "I've got to do something." And she says, "What do you mean?" He says, "I've got to do something." "Well, what are you talking about?" He says, well, he told her that he saw the guy sitting on the sidewalk in a trash bag, and he says, "That's not right." So within a week or so, he and his two brothers cleaned out their closets of excess. They made peanut butter sandwiches, and they went to Boston and distributed to the homeless. And from there he moved on. It became a public service project with the Wiki Peaky 4-H. And from there, now he's expanded in the, we support him, Post 50 and Clinton support him. And he uses used clothes as long as they're not rags. They wash them, and they pack them, and they travel to Boston and cities with homeless and distribute it to help them have a better life. And it's amazing, he said, the number that are veterans. So if you think of that when you're cleaning out the clothes you don't need anymore, that don't fit, or instead of sending them to, I should say, instead of sending them to Goodwill or something, if you bring it, you can leave them at the Legion in the entryway, and that you'll know that they're going to a good cause for the homeless. And I believe that's all I have, so thank you very much for coming, and see you on Memorial Day. Thank you.